Hi guys, review time again. Coming at you today with the Lost MR or MR Lost Mayhem, whatever you want to call it. It's the California Twin. This board is a dedicated 2+1 and it's a collaboration between Mark Riches, the legend, and Matt Baiolos, the legend. So it's yeah, it's a really good board. We've got some of the MR inspired outline shape with some old school 20 features in it, and then it's really been modernized and refined, and it's got a modern engine room underneath with a concave. So yeah, really pleasantly surprised with this board. Some of the main features, I would say, it's a fairly wide template, but the nose is still like, I mean, it's not refined, but it's like it's not full big fishy, and then the tail's quite a nice shape as well, and there's actually quite a lot of very refined features crammed into like a sort of semi old school looking shape. So it's kind of like you know, a beautiful old American car with all the modern running gear and everything replaced, so you get the best of both worlds. And I've really been surprised with this, because I've had 2+1s in the past and not been super impressed. Or, you know, you put in a 2+1 fin setup in what is basically the thruster position, and to me, you know, being a bigger guy and being used to bigger fins and you've been used to bigger volumes and needing more fin to keep the board held in the wave, because I'm riding boards that are relatively big for my weight and height. It's usually 2+1s are like very slippery, but yeah, this one's not. This one's really good. I'm very impressed with this so far. So we've got this fin placement is actually, if your normal thruster fins would probably be a bit further up, maybe about here. So it actually pushes the cluster tighter, and it pushes the twins themselves back. I think MR said he always used to do, I'm sure it's like something like 10.5 or 10.25 from the tail to the shaper's dot. So this has got that correct fin position, and again, you've got this nice template. You've got the wing swallow. You know, I'm not usually a big fan of single wings, because it means that you have to, for us regular guys, you have to have your foot in the right position for it to feel good and for it to turn right. I'd probably say the same about this board, to be honest. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and you really still do want to have your foot in that right position. But it's got lots of speed and drive, and it actually performs really well. It actually, when you get it on a turn that everything's right and it feels good, the performance level is sort of like getting similar to my maybe like the Psycho Killer, which is quite surprising, but in a 2+1 feel, and it doesn't feel skitterish, and it's not missing hold. You know, unless you're riding a really hollow wave, I think this board's good for I'd say you're probably going to ride it at starting off at like waist to chest high, and it's going to be still okay, just slightly overhead. So it's kind of that same kind of range as that puddle jumper, but it feels confident in all of that range. It doesn't feel like, you know, you get into just a bit overhead. I don't think you'd feel like you're really pushing it if you're on a pretty regular, mellow, more spilly wave. Like we've got a really slow wave here, so it's not a problem. So yeah, this one is 6.2, 22 and 2.77, so I guess between 2 3/4 and 2 7/8, and that is 41.5 litres. So this was just a stock 6.2. So we've got, again, outline shape. Nose is a little bit pulled in. The tail's got this nice wing in it, but you've got a nice stable mid, a bit like the puddle jumper boards. We've got a fairly flat rocker, but refined enough in the rocker and everything else to sort of ride a half decent wave, surprisingly so for this type of board. One thing I really noticed is the rails are come down really nicely. So the rail apex through this bit is actually quite low, so up to here it's quite a full deck, and then in the last 3 inches it really drops off quite hard. I'll try and show you that from the other side when I show you the concaves. Again, you got this nice little wing in the tail, yeah, nice and sharp all through the tail line, and then obviously the aim of this tail is that you're actually turning more off the twins, and this becomes your pivot point, because that's the break in the water flow, and this little extra bit of tail is more bite and trail to the main bulk of the board, and the pivot point being really dominated around these twin fins. and then you can put the little stabilizer in, and just from this little wing backwards, there's actually quite a nice little extra bit of tail kick in the rocker, and I think that really adds to the performance as well. I'd definitely say this board is going to perform better than you'd expect. It's again, if you like MRs, if you like some of MR's old stuff but you don't want a full-on V bottom, or you're considering like a puddle jumper or a similar board but you're more of a fishy kind of guy, or you want a fish that's got a bit of performance all round fish in it, this would be a really great choice. Yeah, what else to say? So I'll come around and show you the concaves in a minute. Another thing I noticed is the concaves are extremely deep. It's like it's a single that gets like really deep through here, and then I think it's like a double through the tail. Like I say, paddles good, rides really well. Takes a little bit of getting used to foot position, but there's definitely a nice freedom to, you've got the speed and drive off the two fins being forward, and there's a definite extra release out of the back end of your turn, but not as heavy a release as a full-on twin or keel fin, where it's kind of like can be a bit unpredictable. So I think the balance of elements in this board is actually really good, and it's my first 2+1 that I've actually really liked. So yeah, still getting used to it a little bit, but I've ridden it in most of the waves have been small to, you know, most of the waves have been like probably waist high to head high max. But like I say, I'm pretty sure from waist high to just a bit overhead, it's going to be perfectly all right. And it's got a surprising amount of hold for a 2+1. So yeah, finishing up with the concaves. Kind of the opposite of what you'd expect in this kind of board. You'll see a single starting up here. There's no roll in the nose or anything. It's just a single that starts way from quite far forward. Just after the sort of midway point, it gets to be pretty significantly deep single, and pretty sure it's so subtle it almost looks like a single all the way through, but it's definitely V from maybe like a good 6 or 12 inches or more up from the front of the front fins. So you'll see, inside there we've got quite a bit of deep concave with single. It's probably actually a double running inside a single, and then as we get onto the tail, you'd kind of be expecting to see some V in this kind of board, but that's just not the case on this one. So yeah, it's quite interesting. So it's basically single concave with a double inside it, I'd say, and quite deep, so at this point here, that is a pretty deep concave really. So that's where you get in the old school shape with the modern engine room and the refined rails. I try and just flip it over so you can see, if you look down, if we get a scan of these rail lines, you'll see that between this point here and there drops quite sharply, and we've got quite a strong apex going on there. So yeah, that's the concaves and bottom. Okay, so for fins on the Cali Twin, obviously if you've got the MRs, the MRs are basically made for that board, and it's MR's trusted shape, and you're really getting what the board was designed for. So the MRs, I put those in first. They work really good. The Merricks I always really like. So if you wanted something a bit looser and you're a slightly smaller guy, the Merricks could be the one for you. So they're a bit more upright, slightly smaller forward fin area, and this finger trailer is quite different. It's quite deep, but there's no base to it. So it's like you're going to get decent hold, but not much added drag. So I quite like that, and the upright nature of those fins. Again, like I say, I ride that as a 2+2 in my lost beanbag, and that works really well. But as a 2+1, pretty good. I'd say probably got a little bit squirrely as the waves get a bit bigger, but again, if you're riding it as a small wave board, even for my weight, these work fine. MR's really good, quite smooth, bit more towards the twin style, where they've got a little bit more it's more front orientated, and there's a little bit more twitchy release. And then next ones I'm going to try are the power twins, so they would be for a slightly bigger guy. If you wanted to go for a straight twin fin, you could just put if you're a smaller guy, you could put just the power twins in, or just these, or just those even. If you're my size or bigger, you probably want to go to twin, just the front two. If you're doing twins or twin and stabilizer, if you're a really big guy, you probably want to try the Neil Purchase Jr. Chipper Wilson. They're really big, lots of area, quite upright. They're a really good fin. I like those fins, but you need to be a big, powerful guy to overcome them, basically. And then if you're really on the smaller end and you want something possibly even more performance or a little bit more leaning towards the thruster style, you probably really like the Rob Machados. They're a slightly smaller front fin again than these, with a slightly bigger trailer, so if you're a lighter guy you would get a bit more of a high performance kind of thruster feel to it. And don't be afraid to play around with these rear fins. You know, if you're getting used to it and you find it twitchy, maybe just stick a carver, small carver or something, or you could even do like a rear quad carver because they're double foiled. Just something that's like a training wheels for you, basically. So just go up on this back one if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not getting used to this whole twin thing. You could try that. Wouldn't really run the board as a thruster. It's probably okay, but then again, those fin positions are not really correct for a thruster, so I wouldn't really recommend it personally. Or you could try it, might be fine. Like I say, there's lots of really good twin fins around there. If you want, you know, you could go for something like the fairly upright Christian twins. If you've got futures, maybe like the Aquila Hyper, or you know, something like that. There's lots of fins out there. Tyler Warren's, Captain's Own 2+1. You know, there's loads of stuff out there. Especially if you're futures, you probably got even more choice. So yeah, that's the fin selection. So in summary, the Lost California Twin, really good board, dedicated 2+1. Lots of fun, something different. It's got that classic MR look to it, and it's really quite refined, and they've squeezed a lot of performance into it, so it's a really good board from that point of view. Sweet spot for wave size is probably going to be like the 2 to 3, maybe 4 foot range, so kind of like a waist all the way up to just a bit overhead. Your small ripper kind of guys are going to have heaps of fun riding that in a small size and getting loose and busting the back out. And then your bigger guys are probably going to really enjoy it as well, because it's a stable board, it's a strong paddler, and it's going to cope with your day-to-day waves quite well. And if you've been wanting to get into a 2+1 or a twin fin, this is possibly one of the most user-friendly performance, well paddling boards that I've tried in that kind of fin setup, and it's definitely worth having that 2+1 fin in the right place. So if you tried like 2+1s in your standard board that you've already got in your hybrid or something, and you quite like it but it's a bit squirrely for you or whatever, or you just want to, I really recommend getting that design that's actually built around the 2+1s with the fins in the right position, the wing in the right position, and you know, MR's a legend, so it's like, it's tried and true. It was ahead of its time before the thruster came, and it's still relevant now because it's a perfect little, you know, it's a great little hybrid small wave fun board. So yeah, that's it. Lost California Twin MR, good board. Cheers.